Internet, Hiboson here. Well, as you saw last week, we finished the building of the 3D printer as it sits just there. But there was a couple of bits I wasn't sure what they were for, which were these lovely little things here. But we have figured these out thanks to some lovely viewers of mine out there. They've pointed out to me what these devices are for are actually for creating a device for holding your spools. So when you're printing, your spools can turn freely. From what I understand, not the world's best system, but it'll do the job for now. Basically, I have also done some printing now. Well, one successful little-ish successful thing. I'll get to that in a minute anyway. So as I promised, I did aim a camera at it as I was doing it. But for now, let's get on to building the stand. Rightio, we are now going to get into building the stand for the filament. What you'll need for this part is 4 plastic parts, 8 unilateral pulleys, 8 M4 washers, 4 M4 by 35mm bolts, and 4 M4 nuts. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'll grab them. I prepared them earlier, so I don't need to grab them from over there because I've currently got the printer sat on that bit there. So here we go. We're going to grab all these bits and just tap them out in there. First things first, usual kind of get rid of this plastic. Okay, I've managed to mount my DSLR above for these, so we should be able to have a nice overhead view again. These are going to be quite simple. Okay, so you'll take a pair of these, then all you need to do is grab one of the M4 by 35s, through the plastic there, then a washer, then a unilateral pulley with the widest end towards the plastic, then another unilateral pulley with the thin end towards the other unilateral pulley, another washer, then the other piece of plastic there, and tighten on the bolt. And before that gets too tight, swing it around the other way. The same again. And there we go, that's one already completed. Just do the same again. And there we have it, a pair of stands for the filament. So if I take this one here, which is still currently attached to my printer, you stand it like that, and that's it really. It's as simple as that. It's a simple little device. There are far better holders out there I'm aware of, but as it comes with a kit already, and obviously you just want to get going like I do, then it should, you know, it should buy me some time until I can figure out how I want to do it. Anyway, that's enough of the building of the the widget me doom and hickey, whatchamacallit thingamajig. Yeah, that. Me good words in English, yes, yay. Anyway, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to now splice in some footage of my initial attempts at trying to print, and then I got to a print that was kind of working, and then I realised I had to up the flow and some other bits, and then suddenly it was all a lot better. So those bits coming up now, there's probably a good full 6 or 7 attempts I was trying things, and it was just putting down a really barely visible layer of trace of plastic. So I thought, well, maybe this is just part of a really fine layer, but it doesn't look like what I'm used to seeing on other videos. And then I then decided I was going to give up trying to print the cubes that I created, and I was going to just try and print one of the Printerbot, not Printerbot, sorry, the Ultimaker little robots that I had, because I was using the Curious slicing software. And when I did that, it looked like it was actually working, but then it looked like it wasn't, but it was still building something. So watch these bits of footage, and then I'll go over that a little bit more at the end. So here's the footage. Okay, now you've seen that, and you can kind of see the many kind of failed attempts. And then you can see this little fella that I kind of managed to actually print. If I just put him on here, you'll be able to see him a lot better. And there is the little fella. Now, as you can see at the bottom, the flow rate wasn't high enough. It just wasn't pushing the plastic out fast enough. So whatever settings it was set for, I had to push it harder. And also the temperature settings I had it set for originally weren't actually high enough. I was going with what was on the recommendations and what have you. Maybe it just could have been, maybe the temps were fine, I just didn't have the flow high enough. I've still got some planning to do, and I've still got some figuring out to do. At the moment, time wise, I've had enough time to get this little fella done and the little build bits and bobs here. But I was so chuffed that I managed to get this fella out as wrong as he was. And as you can see there at the bottom, how it was printing and the filament wasn't coming out enough, but it came out, it wasn't coming out enough to do the job properly, but at least enough just came out to make it kind of work-ish. I like it as it's a happy mistake. It was brilliant. I loved it. Now, as you can see here, once I upped the thing, then how much better? And this was, I think, on a 0.01 layer, if I remember rightly. And you can see it's quite decent after that. You know, it really kicked in quite well. Now, if you want a bit of comparison, I do have a little one of these fellas in green here, which was printed on an Ultimaker printer. I picked this up at a Maker Fair. Ultimaker had a stand there and had these little fellas as little free giveaways, and it was cool, so I took one. Well, I didn't take one, I was given one, but you know what I mean. And if we put them side by side, so we've got my little fella in the red and the Ultimaker fella in the green. Now you can see obviously there is a difference quite immediately, but I feel, considering that my little red fella here was a first attempt, I'm actually quite impressed how close I got. You know, considering that was on an Ultimaker, I don't know if it was an Ultimaker or the Ultimaker V2, because he had both on display there and he was printing these little things out from them. But it was a case of, I am really chuffed how close I got. Now, obviously, little details like, I don't want to bring my hand in too close because it's throwing shadows, horrible shadows over it. But if we go here, if we look at the little details on the chest area, you can see on that one how clear they are. On mine, they're lost in there a little bit. And obviously things like the face is very clear on his and mine. And then when you switch to things like the top, you can see how mine didn't really complete, and he didn't get kind of a pair of antennas as one kind of unicorn horn, and he didn't get his little back bar here. There's a bit of plastic there, but it's not a proper bar like that. If I put that under there, you can see what is there. Not a lot. Whereas obviously there you can see how much there is. So let's just look at the back, give you a nice full, and there we go, there's the back. So as you can see, once I turned the flow rate up, he got a lot better. So although my little fella here was technically a bit of a failure, I actually am very happy and impressed with him. It has given me the confidence to feel like this printer has got some very good potential. So obviously I now have to learn how to tap into that potential. So that's my little fella there. Now I think it's time to go into the outro. But there we go. I finally got a little print in there so I could create myself a little robot beard buddy. And I hope you enjoyed that. I'm hoping to obviously dial in those settings a little bit more, and I can go through settings a little bit more in future episodes. My robot beard buddy ran away. I can see him, he's hiding. Anyway, I hope to see you again next week. If you want to find me on social media or like, you can get me at Hiboson on Twitter there. That's the main place you find me. There is some Facebook and other things, but you know, Twitter is my usual hangout. And hopefully, if you first video you've seen of mine, please feel free to subscribe. And well, I'll see you next week. And if you haven't seen my videos before and you're just new here, check out the build video leading up to the build of all of this here. And next week, hopefully, I might be able to go into the printer a little bit more and what settings I'm using and some other things. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do next week, but I'll come up with something. So anyway, I'll see you next week. Bye! Dusty robot beard buddy. If you run away, I can just print more. Remember that. Remember where you stand.